help us if it counts if you need to try to move that person out of there.
We're gonna try to go to
Yeah.
Teams after this,
Yeah.
because Zoom was not willing to give us a PO and all that
Yeah.
stuff ever since they changed our team.
A lot of trouble with
I
Zoom
even changed my email on there.
from a business standpoint
So.
too. All right, let's start. Let's go.
Ready?
Miguel, thank you, Miguel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Okay, we appreciate it.
Ambrose, you on?
Amber, thank you. She's like, she runs out the door.
I thought she was gonna beat Miguel at the room. Ready? Sure is behind.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's call a meeting to order. It's 9:09 a.m. It is March the 20th, 2025. Chair, roll call, please.
Billy Smith,
Here.
John Buffington,
Here.
Bob Petrie,
Here.
Let know that there is a quorum. The staff present is Izzy Torrejo, Executive Director, Richard Budismonte, in-house counsel, Denise Chavez, New Mexico Racing Commission paralegal. And pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Strange, a little echo there. Is there any changes to the agenda that we know of?
Mr. Chairman, at this point, the staff does not have any.
All right, so we all reviewed it. Want to hear a motion to approve today's agenda?
It's Buffington. I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody reviewed the minutes? If there's any changes, please let me know.
for February 20th.
February the 20th, exactly. Any changes? None?
No.
Looking for a motion to approve?
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Chairman has no report. Agency Director, Izzy.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. First off, I'd like to point out and thank Ms. Beth McKinney for showing up here today to the meeting in person. You do appreciate when people come in person. So thank you very much, Ms. McKinney, for coming on down. Just a few things, we'll be fairly quick today. Just want to report that Senate Bill 92 passed the House Appropriation Finance Committee late last night. I just applaud the Chair, Nathaniel Small, for pushing that committee till way past our bedtimes last night to get the job done. So we certainly appreciate their perseverance. They're running into the final furlong of this legislative session. So they've got a lot of activity over there. One thing I also wanted to point out, we get a lot of phone calls about what's going on in the industry and with the Horsemen's Association. Different types of horsemen call us all the time, but just really want to make clear that in an effort to try to work together, the stakeholders in the industry, including track management, breeders, regulators, and of course, representatives of the NMHA board, Paul Jensen and Pam Senna, met on March 4th here at the commission boardroom to just settle some indifferences that have been ongoing for the last 4 years. The meeting went really well. It appeared that we had a deal, an agreement made at 3:30 that day in order to get the signals turned back on and drop all the lawsuits and put all the fighting to rest so we could move horse racing forward. To our disappointment, by the next morning, that offer had been taken off the table by the horsemen and I believe their attorneys. So it's really a sad day, to go from such a happiness on March 4th. We could put all this aside and work on making racing better here in New Mexico to having that agreement pulled off the table in the matter of 12 hours. So it's real disheartening, real disappointing to experience that. I guess you could say it seemed like it was inevitably a waste of time for everyone to put that effort forth. But we did try, and that's an important thing. This commission will continue to try. But at this point in time, we don't know when the next opportunity will rise. But that was sad. Another sad point, our out of competition test for the West Texas maturity, disappointing once again. As that goes, 5 of the 14 horses that had the 14 fastest times came up positive for albuterol. 1 came up positive for clenbuterol. That's 6 out of 14 that will not be able to run. And it's been reported by commission staff that horses are showing up with wet manes for out of competition testing. They're smelling like bleach. This stuff's got to stop. I mean, if you're going to play this game fair, we'll welcome you. But if you're going to want to play little games like that and show up with your horse with bleach on it and wet hair, I'll tell the guys that do that, the lab will not test your hair if it is wet. So we have been pulling hair from the tails for some of these horses. These games got to stop if we want this industry to succeed. And we'll just get rid of these people the best we can. I think some of our new rules will help in that today. Hopefully they will be seen as favorable by the commissioners later on during the rules hearing. So we could start ridding these people that get bad out of competition tests out of the industry. We don't want them. They're wasting our time and wasting our money. Just want to report a federal judge ruling by Judge Garcia at the federal level ruled in favor of the racetracks, and some important points to that decision was that there's no horseman group in New Mexico that has exclusivity to being the horseman's group as defined by the Interstate Horse Racing Act. It can be a different horseman's group for every race meet. And we really need people to understand that. So I believe the NMHA has claimed to be the group for all of New Mexico for all race meets. The Interstate Horse Racing Act does not say that. So is a very good, clear order by the judge and decision made by him that I think helps everyone understand their role in the Interstate Horse Racing Act and how simulcast agreements should be executed. So Senate Bill 323 was put on hold up in the legislation last week. That's a bill that would have made a significant change to the verbiage in the statutes. It says, currently it says be running a live New Mexico race meet, and they wanted it changed to or simulcasting a New Mexico signal, something to that effect. Currently it just says signal, which means we could simulcast and have days off and we could still game. So it was a dangerous bill that would look to appear to add a lot of race days to the New Mexico landscape. And we don't think that was healthy for the horse. So I stand for any questions.
Oh, you got anything, John?
I do not.
Thank you.
The ruling from the judge, it was pretty significant, wasn't it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Yes, it was a very well-written ruling or order or decision. It explains some of the history on other battles around the country from prior years, more specifically New England, in which there is a little bit of a rift there once upon a time between horsemen's groups. And I think between the racetracks and the horsemen group that prevailed there, they did a very wise thing and being able to overcome a lot of these hurdles and these battles that happened. So local committees, if they represent the horsemen at that race meet, it looks like that will stand as that was already ruled on by Judge Bryant down in Carrizosa.
Okay. Earlier this week, I talked to you about slaughtering horses. And are we gonna require the other racetracks to put a little thing in their condition book?
Yes, and that's pretty, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, that's pretty standard practice across the country. And we will request that these racetracks do have an anti-slaughter policy in all their condition books or their horseman's guides or stall applications, wherever they want to put it. But yes, it's certainly an optics thing. It's something that John Q. Public does not look or they frown upon horses going to slaughter. And so almost nothing worse than a story breaking out in the news on a horse that raced one of our racetracks, getting caught up in a kill pen and headed for Mexico or wherever else. It's something that we should have done a long time ago. So we'll certainly ask the racetracks to put in an anti-slaughter policy.
Any other questions for the director? Anybody? All right, let's move on to Mary Barber, Mexico Horse Breeders Association. Are you there? Can't hear you yet.
Okay, there we go.
Now we can hear you. How are you, Mary?
Okay. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Hey, thank you. Okay, I have Sunland Parks reports here. In their first 38 days, Sunland Park ran a total of 139 restricted New Mexico bred races. Of those, 61 were thoroughbred overnights, 60 quarter horse overnights. There were 4 quarter horse trials, 8 thoroughbred stakes, and 6 quarter horse stakes. Our contribution to those purses totaled $1,254,500. This is slightly less than last year. It was down about $41,500. Sunland averaged 3.66 New Mexico bred races per day. There were 69 thoroughbred and 70 quarter horse, so pretty even Steven there. And they were plus 25 for the 3 a day. For the average field size for restricted New Mexico bred overnights only, the thoroughbreds after scratches averaged 8.25 horses per race. The quarter horses averaged 8.95 horses per race. And I think that would be actually higher. I don't know if you were around, but I used to argue with Dustin Dix about the quarter horse races, and they wouldn't run any 870 races. And now they're running quite a few 870 races, and only 8 horses can run in an 870 race. So I really appreciate them running 870 races, but that also kind of lowers the average field size too. So the combined average field size is 8.6. For New Mexico breds running in open overnight races, in their first 38 days, 396 New Mexico breds ran, and of those, 112 came in first, second, or third, and that is 29%. The total we added to the purses for those horses was $92,631. And that completes my reports. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Mary? Anybody? No? Mary, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Don, will you take us into,
I will. I move that the commission enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation, licensing matters, and for deliberations in connection with legal proceedings as identified under item number 7 of the meeting agenda in accordance with NMSA 1978 sections 10-15-1 H 1, 3, and 7 of the Open Meetings Act.
we'll hear a motion to take the commission into
Second.
close. Who?
I make the motion
And
he's
Second Petrie.
second, Petrie.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Roll call, please.
Billy Smith,
Second Petrie.
We got you. Thank you.
Billy Smith,
Yes,
John
Yes.
Buffington,
yes.
Bob Petrie,
Petrie?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's kind of the delay there,
Yeah.
Bob, in there. Okay.
Mr. Petrie, I'm gonna put you in a breakout room, okay?
You got it.
We'll be real quick, Beth.
Pardon me?
We'll be pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna be.
I have a crossword puzzle, so take it.
We won't be that quick.
You can complete it before we're done. Okay, thanks, Ben.
Okay.
Eric Lohman, he is back from his vacation. He did say that he would be available.
Second,
Yes.
still on.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Commissioner Petrie, this is Fred from Sunland Park. I
Hi,
think
Fred. How are
somehow
you?
you got into the breakout room. I think they want you probably back in that other room.
Okay. Sorry about. Let me see here.
Hey, do you mind addressing your fake testing statistics while you're in there?
Okay.
Do you hear that, Petrie? You guys
I'm
reporting
sorry.
fake testing statistics to the legislature. Why you been doing that? You think falsifying testing statistics is a bad idea? A 40% positivity rate in your out of competition testing? The fact that you guys won't produce your post-race testing logs? You're hardly testing as it is now and you keep getting positives. It's because you're finally being forced to make records. Bazinga.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm in. I kept trying to
doing
get in. It kept said preparing and wouldn't let me get any further.
Well, we got to be prepared.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
We ready? Everybody ready? Ready. Go back into session. Let's go to item.
And actually, Mr. Chairman.
Back in.
Okay, all right, okay. We are back on the record regarding the New Mexico Racing Commission March meeting. And I hereby swear and affirm that during the closed executive session, the matters discussed were those listed in the agenda and no decisions were made. And Chairman Smith.
Let's go to item number 8A, request for ratification and approval of amended Sunland Park stewards. Izzy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, respectfully requesting the ratification of approval to amend the 2025 Sunland Park stewards. We had to sit one of our stewards out for some medical reasons. So I had to bring in a substitute steward and just wanted that approved.
Looking for a motion to approve, ratify approval of Sunland Park.
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second, Petrie.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Petrie,
Bob Petrie? Yes? Did you hear us?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on to B, approval of for Sunray Park. Request approval of amended 2025 racing officials. Mr. Moreland, are you there?
Chairman, I'm asking,
Probably Tim McKernan.
Tim McKernan?
I'm here.
Okay. You wanna?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Go ahead and,
Yeah, we were just requesting the approval of some extra racing officials that we hadn't got to last month.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody? Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, in some discussions with Mr. Lonnie Barber and Max Moreland yesterday, if we could approve two of the outriders, Lexi Lefebvre and Clint Wood, contingent upon them getting sufficient training before we would license them.
I'm sorry, Izzy, can you repeat those names?
Miss Lexi Lefebvre and Clint Wood.
Okay.
It doesn't appear that they have any experience as outriders. So as a precaution, we would like to have those people be trained in their duties as an outrider prior to getting an NMRC license. And if we could get some documentation of that training, that'd be great.
Did you get that, Mr. McCarron?
Yeah, I got that. We'll get it done for you.
And then when you get it done, you got to show some kind of
Acknowledgement.
that it got done.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
we'll get some documentation to you.
Okay,
Write it on a Post-it
we
note.
done?
Yes, sir.
I'll hear a motion to amend Sunray Park's 2025 racing officials.
It's Buffington. I'll make that motion with the additional training expectations that were outlined.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Petrie,
Yes.
Move on to C, approval for Sunland Park. Request of ratification of approval of amended 2025 racing officials.
Yes.
Mr. Dix? Are you there? Mr. Dix?
Got it. You-
Okay,
Hello,
now we can hear you.
Chairman, members of the commission, Dustin Dix, Director of Racing, Sunland Park. Sunland's respectfully requesting for ratifications of approvals for today. Our first item is a request of a ratification of approval to amend our 2025 racing officials to add one Carlos Cordero as assistant starter and Adriana Munoz to fill in as a horseman's bookkeeper.
Any objections?
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Dix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 2 is a request of a ratification of approval of a variance. We canceled on February 27th, 2025 before running a race. March 6th, 2025, we canceled after the 4th race. Both were due to poor air quality.
Dustin, I got a question on making up those races. How did you do that and how successful was it? And I guess part of my underlying question is I think when we approve X number of race days, we approve X number of race days. And when one's canceled and you add back extras or something like that, that's not really, in my mind, that's not really making up for those missed races. So if you could tell me what you did and how it turned out, I would
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Commissioner Buffington. What we did was we added races to make up for the races that were lost. We added a 10th race for the thoroughbreds and also ran 11 races when we were able to fill them. I believe most of the races that were canceled were wrote back as extras or they were in the book. I think 1 or 2 may not have filled coming back because they were short fields. This year has been kind of an anomaly here at Sunland Park. Our spring just started today, and El Paso is one of the dustiest cities in the United States. Usually we have 22 dust events every year, and our windy season starts in March and goes all the way through June. We've already had 20 dust events, and we've had 11 days of winds over 50 miles an hour. So makes it very difficult to make up races this time of year. We have a new federal agency, HISA, that's we have protocols in place for wind, and the monitor that they used to cancel on February 27th was 2.5 miles from here at an elementary school. I went to the elementary school yesterday and asked people to see the monitor, and nobody even knew what I was talking about. So I assume it's on the roof there, and the elementary school's backed up to basically the Sunland Park landfill. So there's a lot of sand and dust blowing. So I've amended our weather protocols with HISA. We put a air quality monitor here at the track. I think it's much more accurate. It's a better reading. And actually HISA's coming out here next Wednesday for a town hall meeting with Lisa Lazarus and Mark Guilfoyle, and I believe Ann McGovern's coming. And hopefully this will be addressed as well. It's tough for us to add a day that late in our meet with the winds and the way the winds have been, that we thought the best move was just to add races. Right now we have 12 race days left, 3 weeks of racing. The weather forecast for the next 2 weeks for winds looks pretty favorable. So hopefully this isn't an issue for the rest of the meet. Hopefully that answers your question, kind of added some information to you for there, Commissioner Buffington, for your own information, but hopefully that suffices.
Well, I don't like that way of trying to work in an extra, because you know, the races that are difficult to fill, if they're filled and they're in the book and they're going, those races don't get back. It's pretty easy to write a maiden claiming race back. But I don't know. I just don't like that. Izzy, can you tell me how other tracks do it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Buffington, it varies from track to track, depending upon the region, depending upon the calendar. But what we've seen a lot with a lot of the major racetracks, what they're doing is they're just moving the card in its entirety to another day that was typically used as a dark day. And they just keep the card intact and run it on just another day. Now, there's some logistical things that need to get done with the programs and so forth and scheduling of staff, but that's the way we've seen it done quite a bit.
Okay, well, I guess I would think that would be a more equitable way rather than just working in extras, and because you don't have the same horses entered. You don't. I mean, I just don't like the way we did that. I appreciate adding back those days and all that, and I'll take you at your word that all but a couple races came back, but I happen to be more familiar with some of those races that didn't come back, and it's not a good situation.
Why did
Thank
you have a horse in it?
Commissioner Buffington, and like Izzy Trejo said, that there is some logistics involved. If we cancel on a Thursday, we race on Friday, we race on Saturday, we race on Sunday. Then if you reschedule it on a Monday, there's track maintenance issues as well. And then there's always seasonals that will say, I wasn't planning this. Our bench isn't very deep with veterinarians and other positions. So there is a lot of logistics to just moving this day to another day. It's not as easy as it sounds. There's a lot of logistics involved with this. I thought about even canceling beforehand to try to make it better for everybody. Then, of course, we're at the mercy of the weather forecast, and they say there's 70-mile-an-hour winds, and it's 5-mile-an-hour winds, and so it's kind of a difficult time of year to run here with the spring and the winds here in Sunland Park, and seems to be getting worse and worse. This year seems to be one of the worst years for wind. If we ran on Tuesday, we would have canceled. We had a brownout here on Tuesday. So what I'm worried about is you just move that day to a Monday and the winds, then what? You move it again? I mean, it's very difficult. And I believe there's no rule that addresses making up days or how to make up days. So
there are some rules, but they're very vague, and you can interpret them any way you want. So I guess you guys, like you said, it's windy always there, and I think at the beginning of your meet, you guys should begin to plan on how you're going to handle that when it does come up, because it will come up again. It always has come up again.
Or maybe we look at not running this time of year too.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Commissioner Buffington and Commissioner Petrie, Dustin and I have a meeting with ISSA on March 26th. And this is one of the topics I want to address with ISSA to see if we can get things worked out. Obviously, we can't defeat the weather. It's going to be windy in El Paso, but we've got to figure some way out to keep the program going, because I've been involved in one February back east where we continuously got snowstorms and we canceled 15 days out of 18 days during the month. And it's just a hardship on everyone. Sometimes there is no fix, but if we can come up with some reasonable solution to the problem with it, and I think Dustin's right, reading off an air quality index reader that's off property, perhaps next to a big sand lot, you're going to get fierce readings there that will cause us to cancel. And then it only reports every hour. So the winds could subside, but the index reading is going to still say unhealthy. Whereas if we have the index reader right there at the racetrack, I think that's optimum. I think, but it's certainly a topic for discussion to see if we could minimize the penalties that people get from these situations. But, in horse racing, it's an outdoor sport. We've been fighting weather for the last few hundred years.
And I guess that's my point. We've been doing it for 200 years, so it looks like we'd have a plan.
Good point. Yes, sir.
Well, this year's an anomaly. I mean, I've been here all my life and I've never seen winds like this. 20 miles an hour, yes. 65 and 70 miles an hour. That's an anomaly. But I am glad to see that everything's proactive and you are making changes to try to prevent from, canceling when you really didn't need to. Kudos to you guys. You bet.
We have two more items. We're requesting a ratification of approval to run 11 races on March 14th. And that was 11 thoroughbred races. And 13 on March 16th, and the 13 were
Dustin,
West Texas
hold on one
security
second,
trials.
Dustin. I think we need to take a vote on that.
Nobody voted on number 2.
Let's backtrack to number 2, C2, real quick.
Nobody voted on this?
Motion, need a second.
I'll make a motion.
Roll call, Denise?
Billy Smith,
Yes?
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes? Bob Petrie?
Yes.
Moving on, number 3, request for ratification of approval to run 11 races on March 14th, 2025, and 13 races on March 16th, 2025. Mr. Dix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission, Sunland Park is respectfully requesting a ratification of approval to run 11 thoroughbred races on March 14th and 13 West Texas futurity trials on March 16th.
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes?
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Moving on to number 4, request for ratification of approval of amended 2025 post times and wagering format on March 16, 2025. Mr. Dix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Sunland Park is respectfully requesting a ratification of approval to amend our 2025 post times and wagering format for the 13 race card on March 16, 2025.
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes?
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Dix. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chair. I had one quick announcement on
Sure.
April 5th, Saturday, April 5th, closing weekend at Sunland Park. The West Texas Futurity, New Mexican Spring Futurity, and the West Texas Juvenile will be broadcast live on the Cowboy channels. So I think
Great.
that's a great thing for Sunland Park to be part of that.
Yes, I agree. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, approvals for Ruidoso Downs. Request for ratification of approval to shut down simulcasting on February 18th, 2025 due to the extreme weather conditions around the country. Mr. Ball.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Rick Ball, General Manager, Ruidoso Downs Racetrack, requesting approval as the chairman stated.
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes?
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Bob Petrie?
Yes. Yes.
Moving to number 2, request for ratification of approval of amended 2025 purse schedule. Mr. Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Request approval as submitted, and what we're doing is the 2-year-olds will be in the same purse category as older horses.
Looking for a motion?
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second. Mr. Petrie?
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please,
Second,
Denise.
Petrie.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Petrie,
Yes.
Moving on to number 3, request for approval of 2025 condition book. Book number 1, Mr. Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Requesting approval as stated by the chairman, and I do have a couple of corrections on the condition book, and it's an Encompass situation, but on our 870 races, it currently states quarter horses and thoroughbred, and as we all know, we'll only be running quarter horses, so that correction will be made. And as the executive director, Mr. Trejo, announced this morning, we will be adding anti-slaughter clause into our condition book.
Thank you. Next,
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
second.
Second Petrie.
Roll call, please,
Second
Denise.
Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Moving on to number 4, request for approval of 2025 condition book officials. Mr. Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As requested, within the book itself will be the owner, Johnny Trotter, myself as general manager, Mark Estrada as our senior VP of finance, and Jamie Zamora as our racing secretary.
Looking for a motion to approve.
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Petrie.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Number 5, request for approval of 2026 Ruidoso Maiden Stakes nomination blanks. Mr. Ball.
Mr. Chairman, request approval as stated.
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes. Bob.
I think it was yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Ball. How's everything going up there? Are we going to be ready to run?
Every day, it's something new, but yes, sir. It's a mess right now. I can tell you that. We started hauling new material for the racing surface itself on Tuesday. The retention basin, which is basically for the residents downstream. It's not really for us. It's almost completed. Our target date is to take over the racing surface on April the 1st and start reapplying the material back and installing the rails back that were tore out. All of this is via approval of FEMA, Homeland Security, USDA, NRCS, Army Corps of Engineer, and in Mexico DOT. There's so much more to this than what the general public even has a clue, including myself. I didn't realize that there was so much to this. That river is a public river. It's a waterways of the U.S. It's not under our control. We don't have the calls on the way that river is maintained and or the culvert size. That is not our call. We're working upstream with other property owners for additional flood mitigation. And when I say upstream, all the way to the upper canyon, and working with the Mescalero tribes, which we've got a relationship with the Mescaleros that has never existed in this area. It's something I'm very proud of. The communities come together, and we all know that Ruidoso Downs is the economic engine for this area, has over 160 million economic impact. So it's vital that we get up and go in and live it and breathe it every day.
I agree with you. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right. Let's go to Richard for the public rules hearing procedure.
All right. Good morning, commissioners, and good morning to the members of the public. This rules hearing will please come to order. I'm Richard Bustamante, the in-house counsel for the State of New Mexico Racing Commission, and I will be the presiding officer for this rules hearing. The purpose of this hearing is for the commission to receive public comments on proposed amendments to the commission's current rules and regulations. And again, welcome to everybody here. Let the record show that the following commission members are present. Commissioners, would you please introduce yourselves? Mr. Chairman?
Billy Smith.
Vice Chair?
John Buffington.
And Commissioner?
Bob Petrie.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, and let the record reflect that we do have a quorum present for this rules hearing. I am present to advise the commission and conduct this hearing. Also present are Executive Director Ismael Trejo and Denise Chavez, the commission law clerk. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of the New Mexico Horse Racing Act, which is found in the New Mexico statutes, section 60-1A-1 through section 30. The Open Meetings Act, section 1015-1 through 1015-4, and the New Mexico State Rules Act, New Mexico statutes 14-4-1 through -11. The legislative provision authorizing and mandating the commission to adopt administrative rules is section 60-1A-4B1 of the Statutory Horse Racing Act. Again, this meeting is also being held in accordance with the State Rules Act at 14-4-1 and through the end of that Rules Act. The New Mexico State Rules Act regulates rulemaking proceedings and activities which are before all commissions and boards. And anyone interested may contact our Secretary of State's office for additional information. Please note that the commission will separately deliberate and take action on these proposed rules at the close of this rules hearing. I ask that commissioners refrain from comment until such time, and please limit themselves to any questions of any witnesses. If you are appearing in person, please sign the attendance sheet located right outside the boardroom, and thank you, Ms. McKinney, for doing so. That will be made part of the exhibit to this rule hearing. If you are attending virtually, we will have an electronic record of who is logging in, but we respectfully ask that your login information include your full name, although unfortunately we do not require that. Because this rule hearing is a hybrid meeting, we have attendees in person and virtually. As presiding officer, I'm requesting that anyone who is present for this rule hearing through video and intends to comment on any of the proposed rule amendments, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature icon in the Zoom. Ms. Chavez will unmute you on Zoom so you can make your comments on the proposed rule. If you are physically present here in the boardroom today and would like to make a comment on any of the rule proposed amendments, please raise your hand and I will call you when it is your turn to comment. Before making your comments on the proposed rule, again, please state your full name, your affiliation, and the rule that you're commenting on. Ms. Chavez will keep a list of everyone who has submitted either a written or oral comment, and that list will become part of the record of this rule hearing. This is a formal proceeding, and therefore it is being recorded. The recording will become part of the rule hearing record. And again, therefore, when each person is recognized for public comment, identify yourselves each time you address the commission, speak loudly and clearly so that the recorder can pick up your comments. And we respectfully ask that your comments in fact focus on the proposed rule that is being addressed at that time. The hearing will be conducted in the following manner. Copies of a draft exhibit of all written comments received by the commission is available here in the meeting room. In addition, the commission staff will introduce a copy as an exhibit. Commission staff will present all other exhibits to the commission. I will then allow questions from members of the commission and by the public. And I, as presiding officer, will then rule on the admissibility of the exhibits offered for admission. Exhibits admitted into evidence are available for review by members of the public and will be made available on the commission's website and to the members of the public upon request to do so. We will proceed in numerical sequence through each of the proposed rules. We will address only one rule at a time. However, in making your comments, you may refer to other rules that reasonably relate to the rule being discussed or which relate to your comments. And again, we respectfully request that those comments actually be related to the proposed rule being discussed at that time. In this hearing, the commission does not need to follow the traditional rules of evidence, but in the interests of efficiency, we reserve the right to limit all testimony deemed irrelevant, redundant, or unduly repetitious. The decision as to whether such testimony is irrelevant, redundant, or unduly repetitious shall be made by me as the presiding officer for this rules hearing. After a person has provided comment, commission members will be permitted to question that individual. Any member of the audience wishing to question that person may do so after being recognized by me, the presiding officer, and again, after identifying yourself for the record. To the extent that anyone wishes to make a general public comment, I will first allow such comment after the exhibits are introduced. If any public comments are specific to a particular rule amendment, I ask that you make a comment at the appropriate time. At the conclusion of this rule hearing, the commission will conduct discussions and take final action on each of the rules, such as amending, adopting, or tabling them. We are ready to proceed forward. Ms. Chavez, at this time, do you have any exhibits to introduce into evidence?
I have the following exhibits to introduce.
Please continue.
Exhibit 1, notice published in the New Mexico Register, the New Mexico Sunshine Portal, and the Albuquerque Journal. Exhibit 2, notice sent to interested parties. Exhibit 3, proposed amendments to the Commission Rule 15.2.1.7 NMAC entitled Definitions. Exhibit 4, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.1.9 NMAC entitled Due Process and Action. Exhibit 5, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.2.8 NMAC entitled Associations. Exhibit 6, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.3.8 NMAC entitled Flat Racing Officials General Provisions. Exhibit 7, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.5.12 NMAC entitled Horses Ineligible. Exhibit 8, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.5.13 NMAC entitled Running of the Race. Exhibit 9, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.6.9 NMAC entitled Medications and Prohibited Substances. Exhibit 10, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 15.2.6.12 NMAC entitled Physical Inspection of Horses. Exhibit 11, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 16.47.1.8 NMAC entitled General Provisions. Exhibit 12, proposed amendments to the Commission's Rule 16.47.1.10 NMAC entitled Trainers. Exhibit 13, all written comments, and Exhibit 14, attendance sheets.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Chavez. And just to clarify, regarding Exhibit 3, the definition section, Rule 15.2.1.7, the purpose of the proposed amendments is to clarify the definition of day, remove a reference to the term coupled entry that is no longer defined, add the definition of industry representative to clarify representatives assisting licensees in steward hearings and appeals before the hearing officer and the commission, to remove meeting and properly move it to race meet, as that was the intent of the original definition, and to be consistent with the New Mexico statute, and add the definition of substitute trainer. Regarding Rule 15.2.1.9 or Exhibit 4, the justification for this proposed rule change, this rule details how due process and disciplinary actions proceed before the commission. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to clarify how disciplinary investigations and proceedings can be commenced on licensees. The purpose of the proposed amendment is also to refine the rights of licensees to ensure attorneys adhere and maintain professionalism and adherence to the laws of New Mexico while representing a licensee. Another purpose of the proposed amendment is to accentuate and to reciprocate with other recognized regulatory organizations' rulings. And lastly, suggested amendments are minor housekeeping of the proposed amendment to remove a process that is outdated. Regarding Rule 15.2.2.8 or Exhibit 5, the justification for these proposed amendments, this rule details the requirements for associations, AKA racetracks, facilities, and equipment required for the protection of the association's patrons and licensees. The purpose of the proposed amendments is to assist with the association's difficulties staffing medical personnel due to the unfortunate shortage of medical personnel throughout the state of New Mexico. Regarding Exhibit 6, Rule 15.2.3.8, the following are the justifications for the proposed amendments. Subsection A, this rule details general provisions for flat racing officials. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to address requirements of the stewards due to the uncertainty of the racing officials accreditation program future and the lack of qualified and accredited stewards. Subsection B, this rule details disciplinary actions. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to ensure the time to pay a fine is consistent with other references in the rule book. Subsection D, which details the payment of purses. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to allow associations, again, AKA racetracks, to take payment from owners whose horses are subject to postmortem examinations, AKA necropsies, and subject to equine testing fees. Subsection F, which details duties of the horse identifier. The proposed amendment is to remain, purpose is to remain consistent with the international standards that regulate the radio frequency identification of animals. And finally, subsection N, which details requirements of official race veterinarians. The purpose of the amendment is to be consistent with the New Mexico Veterinary Practice Act, which is a part of the New Mexico statutes. Regarding Rule 15.2.5.12, horses ineligible, and that is Exhibit 7. Subsection A of the proposed changes, or subsection A of that rule details conditions making horses ineligible to enter races. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to reciprocate other regulatory organizations and protect the well-being of the beautiful equine athlete. Subsection B of that rule details the conditions that make a horse ineligible to start. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to remain consistent with the international standards that regulate the radio frequency identification of animals. Regarding Rule 15.2.5.13, running of the race, which is Exhibit 8, this rule details rules regarding post to finish. Purpose of the amendment is to address interference, jostling, or striking a horse by a jockey and to allow the stewards to determine if the strike or touch was willful, careless, and ultimately affected the outcome of the race. Regarding Rule 15.2.6.9, which is Exhibit 9, this deals with medications and prohibited substances and deals with the classification guides for those items. The purpose of the amendment is to update the most recent version of the Uniform Classification Guidelines for Foreign Substances and recommend penalties and model rule. This rule also details penalty recommendations, and the other purpose of the amendment is to add penalties for out-of-competition testing violations. Regarding the next rule, 15.2.6.12, physical inspection of horses, and that is Exhibit 10. This rule details pre-race examinations and post-mortem examinations. Purpose of these proposed amendments is to implement best practices while a veterinarian is examining horses and to clarify the responsibilities for both pre-race and post-mortem examination of horses. The next rule is Rule 16.47.1.8, which deals with general provisions, and that is Exhibit 11. This rule details the grounds for disciplinary measures for a licensee and refusal, denial, suspension, or revocation of a licensee's license. Purpose of these proposed amendments is to clarify grounds for disciplinary measures for a licensee and for refusal, denial, or suspension or revocation of a license, including but not limited to other recognized regulatory organizations, and to move a rule to a more appropriate location in the rule book. And the final exhibit, rule exhibit, Exhibit 12, and that deals with, that is Rule 16-47-1-10, dealing with trainers. And again, that rule details the responsibility of licensed trainers. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to reduce late scratches and make trainers accountable for not adhering to their proposed or prior engagements of the training of their horses. And with all that said, as presiding officer, I respectfully admit into evidence in this rules hearing Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Honorable Commissioners, are there any general questions regarding the information I just provided?
No, sir.
All right. Okay. Is there anyone either online or in the audience that would like to make a general comment regarding these specific rules? If so, please raise your hand. Denise will, Ms. Chavez will unmute you. And again, you'll have 90 seconds. And please make your comments relevant to the proposed rules of list that I just stated. Ms. Chavez, is there anyone with a raised hand?
And then you're gonna take off, what cup does more?
I just went up. Give me 1 second.
All right, thank you.
Can you hear
Please
me?
identify yourself. Yes, and please identify yourself, and you have 90 seconds, please.
My name is Vanessa Alexander. I am just curious if these changes that you're proposing, if they're going to pass the snuff with state statutes, particularly Chapter 60, 61, especially the due process issues that your agency has. I would be pretty nervous at this point about you guys playing with that any further. You can't even follow your own rules as it is. Why are we lowering the bar?
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Any other comments, Ms. Chavez, in the Zoom audience?
There is a Mary.
Hi, Mary Barber, New Mexico Horse Breeders.
Please proceed.
I just noticed that on the first one, let's see, it is 15.2.1.7, the definitions, and you go to R2, you're changing it from a meeting to a race meet and defining, what is a race day, what is a dark day, what is a simulcast day. But also I noticed that you took out the part that says that you cannot enter any sooner than 7 days. Why is that?
You didn't even.
And I'd like you to put it back.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Barber?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chavez, any additional raised hands for general comments?
See none.
All right, thank you. Okay. Now I will open the floor to commissioners and members of the audience for comments on each separate rule. Members of both the commission and the audience may question each witness upon being recognized to speak. Discussion by the commission and roll call voting on each separate proposed rule will follow the completion of all public comments. So now turning to Exhibit 3, Rule 15.2.1.7 definitions. I will specifically note that one proposed amendment is the definition of dark day to include a day of live race, a day during a live race meet when there is no live racing being conducted on the premises of the association. Race day, a day during a race meet when parimutuel wagering is conducted on live racing. Simulcast day, a day when parimutuel wagering is conducted on simulcast racing on the grounds of an association. Under subsection E1, entry is a horse is eligible for and entered into a race. Two or more horses entered into the same race to have a common ties of ownership, lease, or training. And we've deleted the C coupled there. Under I2, the proposed amendment is to add the following definition. Industry representative is one or more individuals, none of whom shall be attorneys, selected by a licensee to appear with them at a proceeding before the stewards or proceedings before the commission. They shall not act as an attorney in any proceeding pursuant to section 36-2-27. Another proposed change basically is under M4, basically deleting the current definition of meeting. And then under subsection R2, the amendment is to add the following definition. Race meet means a period of time within dates specified and authorized by the commission in which an association is authorized to conduct live racing and may include dark days, race days, or simulcast days. And then finally, under subsection S13, the amendment is to add substitute trainer to mean is a licensed trainer or assistant trainer approved by the stewards to act on behalf of the licensed trainer as listed on the official program on a race day. So those are the proposed amendments to Rule 15.2.1.7. And do we have anybody either in the audience or online that would like to make a comment specifically about this definition rule? Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands?
Ms. Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, please introduce yourself and you have 90 seconds.
15.2.1.7 definitions, the letter E1. Looks like you didn't finish the definition. Can you read that aloud with the, obviously the stricken part removed? Tell me if that makes any, maybe I'm reading it wrong. And then I'll withhold my, the rest of my comment on the other definitions.
Okay, just to
after that.
repeat, E1 is entry, is a horse eligible for and entered into a race, two or more horses entered into the same race, which have common ties of ownership, lease, or training. Next comment, please.
Okay, so that, I guess what is that explaining that an entry is two or more horses entered in the same race, which have common ties of ownership, lease, or training? Because you remove the word coupled, but the sentence before that is still included. Definition I. Give me a second. An industry representative. You said they shall not act as an attorney. I guess I would be wondering what your considerations of acting as an attorney is. And then
Okay. Thank you,
four,
Ms. Alexander. Your time is up.
well, you
Any
deleted the
additional
word
comments?
meeting and replaced it with race meat. Are you going to
If
delete the
you
word
can-
meat? Because you still use the word
Time's up.
meat in the rest
Thank
of
you.
NMAC.
Ms. Alexander, respectfully, your time is up. Ms. Chavez, any other raised hands?
Dumbasses.
There are no other raised hands.
All right, thank you. Okay, we are now moving into Exhibit 3, and that is Rule 15.2.1.9. And the changes are under subsection A person who is the subject of a disciplinary hearing conducted by the stewards is entitled to proper notice of all charges, the right to confront and examine all the evidence presented against them, the right to present a defense, the right to call witnesses, the right to cross-examine witnesses, the right to counsel at the person's expense, and the right to waive any of the above listed rights. Subsection A under A1, all attorneys representing a licensee must be licensed to practice in the practice law in New Mexico and shall submit an entry of appearance no later than 5 days prior to the scheduled hearing. B, any attorney not listed to practice law, not licensed to practice law in New Mexico shall request permission from the commission, show proof they are associated with an attorney licensed to practice law in New Mexico, and shall adhere to the state of New Mexico's pro hoc vice process prior to representing a licensee. Under subsection A2, the proposed amendment on subsection A would read, on their own initiative or upon receipt of a complaint from a racing commission state investigator or an association official or other licensee regarding the alleged actions of another licensee, the stewards may conduct an inquiry and disciplinary hearing regarding the licensee's alleged actions. The recommendation is to delete the current subsection B and C that are in 15-2-1A2. Also within that rule, under subsection 8, the proposed amendment is 8B would read the transfer of a horse to a different owner or trainer to avoid application of a commission or other recognized regulatory organization's rule or ruling is prohibited unless permitted by the stewards. Subsection C of subsection 8, the recommended change is the steward shall honor the rulings issued by another parimutuel racing commission or other recognized regulatory organization. And then under subsection B, proceedings before the commission, under subsection C, the proposed amendment would read, a party summoned to appear at a hearing shall appear unless the party is excused by the commission's presiding officer. Parties may appear with counsel, an industry representative of their choice, or an industry representative of their choice. Subsection D is added to state all attorneys representing a licensee must be licensed to practice law in New Mexico and shall submit an entry of appearance no later than 10 days prior to the scheduled hearing. E is, and any attorney not licensed to practice law in New Mexico shall request permission from the commission, show proof they are associated with an attorney licensed to practice law in New Mexico, and shall adhere to the state of New Mexico's pro hoc vice process prior to representing a licensee. And then if we go to subsection B, 4, 5, D, the recommendation is to delete subsection D altogether, which reads, a pleading may be filed by facsimile, provided an original and the required number of copies are received by the commission's office not later than 5 p.m. on the third day after the date of the document was filed by facsimile. The inability to transmit a document due to equipment malfunction or any other cause does not relieve the person attempting to file the document of the filing deadline. And then under subsection 11 of subsection B, behavior. 11A, it is, the recommendation is that would read, each party, witness, attorney, or other representative shall behave in all commission proceedings with dignity, courtesy, and respect for the commission, the presiding officer, and all other parties and participants. Attorneys appearing in this jurisdiction must comply with the rules of professional conduct as established by the New Mexico Supreme Court. If the attorney does not abide by the rules of professional conduct as established by the New Mexico Supreme Court, the attorney may be suspended or banned from practicing in front of the commission or may be reported to that practicing attorney's state bar. Subsection B of subsection 11 would, the recommendation is to read any individual who violates this section may be excluded from a hearing by the presiding officer for a period of time and on conditions that are just or may be subject to other just, reasonable, and lawful disciplinary action prescribed by the presiding officer. And then finally, under subsection 22, in the section dealing with proceedings before the commission, it would read reciprocity. Subsection A, the stewards shall honor the rulings from recognized regulatory organizations or other parimutuel jurisdictions regarding license suspensions, revocation, or eligibility of horses. And the other proposed amendment is to delete subsection B altogether, which basically reads appeals of reciprocal rulings. Persons subject to rulings in other jurisdictions shall have the right to request a hearing for the commission to show cause why such rulings should not be enforced in this jurisdiction. Any request for such hearing must clearly set forth in writing the reasons for the appeal. So, Ms. Chavez, do we have any folks in the audience that would like to comment on the changes to the due process and disciplinary action rule?
Yes, Vanessa Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, please state your name and you have 90 seconds.
Vanessa Alexander, number one, due process changes. You guys are incapable of following your due process rules as it is. I suggest you commissioners read the lawsuit that Toby Keaton just filed, that he is going to win. The Racing Commission's going to have to drop all these carmoterol positives because you guys can't get him the evidence that he's allowed to have before a freaking hearing. Are you guys nuts? You have stewards.
Ms. Alexander, I'd ask you to be respectful, please. Please
stop
continue.
being such a baby. You have stewards resigning, citing the NMRC's lack of integrity, and they're putting it in writing. All right. You can't preclude unlicensed people from making complaints against other people. Let's say I bring up Lisa Johnson's falsified applications. What's her date of birth, boys? She can't seem to remember it. How about the fraudulent testing statistics that she and Trejo have been giving the legislature for the last 10 years? You know how much fun I had showing them the real results of the fact that your positivity rate is probably around 40%? And why won't Mr. Bustamante give me your post-race testing stats? Because they're that bad. You cannot choose who cannot represent someone. That's going to get you bound up. And your stewards don't even know what a jurisdiction is. You guys are crazy. You shouldn't be thinking about doing any of this if you can't wipe your own butts as it is.
Thank you very much. Time is up. Any other comments? Do we have any other raised hands?
Zoom world.
Okay, all right. Thank you. We are now turning to Exhibit 5, Rule 15.2.2.8, dealing with associations, AKA racetracks. And the proposed change there is under subsection E7. The proposed amendment would read an association, I apologize, subsection 6 of E, and the change recommended there is an association shall provide 2 properly equipped ambulances ready for immediate duty and equipped for transport at any time the racetrack is open during live racing. Each ambulance shall be staffed with 1 certified paramedic or an intermediate emergency medical technician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant. The other staff will be certified EMTs. If the ambulance is being used to transport an individual, the association may not conduct a race until a properly equipped and staffed ambulance is in place or a physician is on duty. Under E7, the recommended or proposed amendment is an association shall provide one properly equipped ambulance ready for immediate duty and equipped for transport at any time the racetrack is open for training hours. The ambulance shall be staffed with one certified paramedic or an intermediate emergency medical technician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant. The other staff will be certified EMTs. If the ambulance is being used to transport an individual, the association may not conduct a race until a properly equipped and staffed ambulance is in place or a physician is on duty. Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands regarding that proposed rule? Director Trejo.
Yeah, can I just make a suggestion?
Please.
Okay. Izzy Trejo, Director of the New Mexico Racing Commission. If I could just make a suggestion, the last sentence of that rule, it says, if the ambulance is being used to transport an individual, the association may not conduct a race until the properly equipped and staffed ambulance is in place or a physician is on duty. If perhaps we could change a race to training, since this rule addresses what's necessary during training.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Director Trejo, well, thank you for the comment. And Director Trejo, what honorable commissioners, what that will require is once we move into the approval portion of this meeting, there'll need to be a motion to amend that proposed amendment in order to effectuate the change that Director Trejo suggested. Okay.
And that's on number 5? 7. 7.
5, yes.
Exhibit 5, Section 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exhibit 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Chavez, any raised hands either in the room or on Zoom? All right. Okay. Thank you. And we will proceed to Exhibit 6 regarding 15.2.3.8, flat race officials and general provisions. Under A1, the proposed amendment would read eligibility. Qualify as a racing official, the applicant shall be of good character and reputation, demonstrate experience in flat racing, be familiar with the duties of the position and with the commission's rules of flat racing, and show an ability to fulfill the requirements of the position. Stewards must be licensed or certified by a nationally recognized horse racing organization.
Thinking about you.
And under that rule, subsection D4A, payment of purses, the proposed amendment would read, upon approval of the commission, the horseman's bookkeeper shall receive, maintain, and disperse only the following from the purse accounts: the purses earned for each race, fees associated with post-mortem examination, drug testing fees for the equine testing fund entry, nomination, supplemental, and starter fees in stake races, jockey fees, LASIK fees, win picture fees, and purchase money in claiming races, along with all applicable taxes that properly come into their possession in accordance with the provision of commission rules. Okay.
I remember those days. That's what you used to get ready in like the living room, remember? I think what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay, and backtracking a little, my apologies. Another proposed change is under B3K, which would read, all fines imposed by the stewards shall be paid to the commission within 14 days after the ruling issue is issued unless otherwise ordered. So that change would go from 30 days to 14 days. Continuing with proposed changes in that rule, we also have under subsection F1, dealing with horse identifier. And that proposed change is that the horse identifier shall ensure the safe keeping of digital or paper registration certificates and racing permits for horses stabled or racing on association grounds, inspect documents of ownership, eligibility, registration, or breeding necessary to ensure the proper identification of each horse scheduled to compete at a race meeting, examine every starter in the paddock for sex, color, markings, lip tattoo, microchip, and then in parentheses, ISO 11784/11785, comma, freeze brand or other approved methods of positive identification for comparison with its registration certificate to verify the horse's identity. Supervise the tattooing, microchipping, freezing branding, or other approved method of positive identification for identification of any horse located on association grounds. Positive identification may include verification that the breed registration certificate has been submitted for correction or verification that the tattooing process has been initiated. Then under subsection N, 1, dealing with official veterinarian, the proposed or change would read, the official veterinarian shall, 1, be employed and licensed by the commission. Subsection 2, be a graduate veterinarian taking out and be licensed to practice in the state. And those are all of the proposed amendments to that rule. Ms. Chavez, do we have any hands raised either on Zoom or in the audience?
Ms. Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, please introduce yourself and you have 90 seconds.
Hello, Vanessa Alexander, investigative researcher. Once again, we are lowering the bar. How much further are you guys going to lower the bar for your so-called racing officials? You're going to get rid of having somebody actually accredited, and you're going to change it with licensed or certified by a nationally recognized horse racing organization. Is that going to be yourselves? You know, you've got your 2 investigators that you have been illegally using as stewards. One of which that failed rope the only time that she tried. Like I said, you have stewards resigning over integrity issues. This is just insanity. What's next? You guys just going to start appointing potted plants? As far as your purse releases, again, I have exposed a massive purse embezzlement scheme that's been ongoing for over a decade. You want to, talk about payment of purses. Why don't you guys fix the giant freaking, ripping holes that you guys have in your current program? I mean, before changing rules even further, you can't follow the rules you have. Your people are not competent to do what they're supposed to be doing, and it shows. Everything that is coming down upon you now on the national news.
Thank you so much for the comments.
You're very welcome.
Ms. Chavez, any other raised hands either in the room or on Zoom?
No raised hands.
All right, thank you so much. And we are proceeding to Exhibit 7, Rule 15.2.5.12, dealing with horses ineligible. Under subsection A3, the proposed change is for that section to read, a horse shall be ineligible to enter in a race when its name appears on starter list, steward's list, veterinarian's list, or paddock judge's list of any recognized regulatory organization. Under B3, the proposed change would read, a horse shall be ineligible to start when its breed registration certificate is not on file with the racing secretary or horse identifier, unless the racing secretary has submitted the certificate to the appropriate breed registry for correction, or in the case of thoroughbred horses foaled in 2018 or thereafter, or quarter horses foaled in 2022 or thereafter, the horse does not have a digital tattoo The stewards may waive this requirement if the information contained on the registration certificate is otherwise available and the horse is otherwise correctly identified to the horse identifier's satisfaction. Director Trejo?
We just skipped over that minor head.
Okay, and my apologies for these tiny little changes. Backtracking a little bit under section 15.2.5.12B, the proposed change is a horse shall be ineligible to start when, taking out the word be. Finally, under that same rule, under subsection B4, the proposed change would be a quarter horse foaled before 2022 or a thoroughbred foaled before 2018 is not fully identified and tattooed on the inside of the upper lip, freeze band, or identified by any other method approved by the Breed Registry and Commission. However, there may be extenuating circumstances where a horse will be eligible to start in a race without the tattoo as referenced above, as long as the horse identifier has written verification that the tattooing process has been initiated. If a thoroughbred foaled in 2018 or thereafter, or a quarter horse foaled in 2022 or thereafter, is not microchipped with a unique microchip, parentheses, ISO 11784/11785, close parentheses, freeze brand or identified by any other method approved by the Breed Registry and Commission. Under subsection 5 of the section B, the proposal is for it to read, it has been fraudulently entered or raced in any jurisdiction under a different name with an altered registration certificate, no lip tattoo, altered lip tattoo, altered or manipulated microchip, and then a parentheses ISO 11784/11785, close parentheses, or freeze brand. Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands either in the room or on Zoom of individuals who would like to comment on those proposed rule changes?
No raised hands.
All right, thank you. And we are proceeding now to Rule 15.2.5.13, which is Exhibit 8. The rule is running of the race. Under E2B, the recommended or proposed change shall read interference, jostling, or striking. No jockey shall carelessly or willfully jostle, strike, or touch another jockey or another jockey's horse or equipment. It shall be the discretion of the stewards to determine if the jostle, strike, or touch had an effect on the outcome of the race and warrants a disqualification. And that is the sole proposed amendment. Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands regarding the proposed amendment to 15.2.5.13, running of the race?
Yes, Ms. Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, please identify yourself and proceed with your comment.
Vanessa Alexander. Are you guys aware how many times the FTC has reversed you on your HISA rulings because your stewards were found to be not credible? And also, I believe one judge actually even used the word not competent, which also means incompetent. You're reading this rule and you're just adding to it and letting these guys, your incompetent stewards, have more power, okay, to redefine the meaning of words. This, you guys, you yourselves have continued to reverse rulings because your stewards don't know what they're doing. I mean, why are you adding on to the problem? It's horse racing, okay? It's NASCAR. Things are going to get touched. People are going to lean over to move a horse. That's just the way it works. And you're just adding more problems to yourselves. God, I don't get it. I don't get your what you guys are thinking right now.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Alexander. Do we have any additional comments, Ms. Chavez?
There are none.
All right, thank you. And now we are proceeding to Rule 15.2.6.9, and that is Exhibit 9. The rule is medications and prohibited substances. Under 15.2.6.9, medication and prohibited substances, the first proposed change is classification guidelines contained within the Uniform Classification Guidelines for Foreign Substances and Recommended Penalties and Model Rule, December 2024, version 18.1, and Association of Racing Commissioners International Controlled Therapeutic Medication Schedule for Horses, version 4.2.1 hyphen December, 2020 update are incorporated by reference. Any threshold therein incorporated by reference by inclusion in one of the documents above shall not supersede or any threshold or restriction adopted by the commission as specified in this section. Under subsection A, D, or A13, the proposed amendment would read, procedure shall be established to ensure that a licensed trainer is not able to benefit financially during the period for which the individual has been suspended. This includes, but is not limited to, ensuring the horses are not transferred to or entered on behalf of a licensed person within the first degree of affinity, parentheses, marriage relationship, close parentheses, or first degree of consanguinity, parentheses, blood relationship, close parentheses. Under 13C, the proposed change is no entry in any race shall be accepted for a horse owned wholly or in part by or trained by a person whose husband or wife is under license suspension by any racing jurisdiction or regulatory racing organization at the time of such entry, except that if the license of a jockey has been suspended for a routine riding offense, the stewards may waive this rule. Under 13D, the proposed addition would read, the spouse or domestic partner of any licensee that has had their license suspended, revoked, or summarily suspended by the commission or any other recognized regulatory organization may be suspended as well to ensure that the suspended licensee does not benefit from horse racing in any way during their suspension. If the license of a jockey has been suspended for a routine riding offense and given a suspension of less than 15 days, the spouse or domestic partner may continue to participate in racing at the discretion of the stewards. Continuing within that rule to subsection B, the proposed amendment is to add a new subsection 5, which would read, out of competition penalties will be assessed violations in any official sample other than blood or urine due to the presence of subsection A. Penalty Class A drugs as listed above and with the Association of Racing Commissioners International Uniform Classification Guides for Foreign Substances and Recommended Penalties and Model Rules and incorporated by reference under 15.2.6.9 NMAC, subsection B, blood doping agents, including but not limited to erythropoietin, parentheses, EP, close parentheses, darbepoetin, oxyglobin, hemopure, aranesithep, or any substance that abnormally enhances the oxygenation of body tissues, subsection C, gene doping agents or other non-therapeutic use of genes, genetic elements, or cells that have the capacity to enhance athletic performance or produce analgesia. D, clenbuterol or albuterol present in any official sample in a horse not previously placed on the veterinarian's list pursuant to paragraph 1 of subsection C of 15.2.6.9 NMAC, and E, androgenic anabolic steroids present in any official sample in a horse not previously placed on the veterinarian's list pursuant to paragraph 10 of subsection C of 15.2.6.9 NMAC. Continuing under subsection 5, licensed trainer, first offense in a 365-day period in any jurisdiction, the penalty is a minimum of 30-day suspension. Second offense, within a 365-day period in any jurisdiction, the penalty is a minimum of 60-day suspension. And third offense, within 365-day period in any jurisdiction, the penalty is a minimum 180-day suspension. And that is all of the recommended changes or additions to that rule. Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands regarding comments regarding medication and prohibited substances? Exhibit 9.
Rick Baugh.
Mr. Baugh, please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your comment.
Thank you, Mr. Bustamante, Chairman, Commissioners. In section D, where it makes reference to the spouse of a domestic partner of the licensee for a trainer, can we take into consideration as well assistant trainers? Because we've seen on numerous occasions where the horses are rolled over to their assistants and life goes on.
Go ahead. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Izzy Trejo, Director of the New Mexico Racing Commission. We did see on public comment that we received that suggestion. And I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like the spouse or domestic partner of any licensee. So that would include an assistant trainer. I don't know if Richard would concur with that.
Wouldn't it be easier to just to add it and like we did it, the last one, to have a motion and approve it? I'd put the assistant trainer in there because I don't think the spouse covers the assistant trainer. So
Not in all cases, it wouldn't.
And that would be the cleanest way, if that term, if the commission believes that term is necessary, is once we get to that rule, a motion to amend to add that term, and then basically a second on that, and then a vote on the rule to adopt the amendment.
let's do that. Assistant trainer.
All right. Thank you, Director Trejo. And if you will remember to bring that up once we get to the voting.
Yeah.
Ms. Chavez, any other comments regarding?
Richard,
Yes, Commissioner
in the
Petrie.
licensed trainers suspensions, are those concurrent or consecutive? It doesn't address that. You have a 30-day suspension. If there's a second offense, it's 60. Is that a total of 90 days?
No, Commissioner Petrie, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Commissioner Petrie, basically the way that basically those are handled is they are basically consecutive. So one right after the other, basically. So the first suspension will end and then the second one will start. So that's generally the way the stewards determine the length of the suspension.
Not
Okay,
always.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Petrie. Ms. Chavez, any other raised hands regarding this specific?
Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, again, please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your comment.
Vanessa Alexander, I've got a question. Agency did an illegal threshold change in 2021 on the corticosteroids. And yet you still continue to prosecute people for overages. So that's just something that I feel the need to bring up. I've reported plenty of spouses and family members that were licensed. One of them regarding the Sanchez brothers and Diamond Racing. According to deposition testimony, there was administrative action and entries stopped being taken from Diamond. And yet, according to Mr. Bustamante in my IPA requests, there are absolutely no records of any kind. And yet you still continued to license spouses and family members of people that, especially those guys. You're out of competition testing. Okay, great. We're going to start doing penalties. Again, your falsified information. You guys have created a doper's paradise. 2023, you guys said you did 947 out of competition tests. Statistically impossible. In 2024, because I made you guys start getting actual reporting, you did 144 out of competition tests on only 95 horses, and 30% of them were positive. So it's great that you're going to, raise penalties. What does that mean for your falsified statistics?
Thank you very much. Ms. Chavez, any additional comments? All right. Okay, thank you. We are now proceeding to Exhibit 10, Rule 15.2.6.12, dealing with physical inspection of horses. And there, the proposed amendment is under subsection A2, which would read, assessment of racing condition. The identification and inspection of every horse entered to participate in official race shall be conducted by the official veterinarian or the racing veterinarian. And then under subsection C, postmortem examination, subsection C1, the recommendation would read, a commission designee or official veterinarian may require a postmortem examination of any horse that dies or is euthanized on association grounds. C2, the recommendation would read, a commission designee or official veterinarian may require a post-mortem examination of any horse that dies or is euthanized at recognized training facilities within this jurisdiction. C4, the recommendation is to read, if a post-mortem examination is to be conducted, the commission, designee, or official veterinarian shall collect blood, urine, body fluids, or other biological specimens immediately, if possible, before euthanization. The commission may submit blood, urine, body fluid, or other biological specimens collected during a post-mortem examination for testing analysis. The presence of a prohibited substance in a specimen collected during the post-mortem examination may constitute a violation. C5, the recommendation change is any requests by an owner's or trainer's veterinarian for each postmortem examination shall be filed with the official veterinarian by the owner or trainer's veterinarian within 1 hour of the death and shall be submitted on a necropsy submission form entitled New Mexico Racing Commission Necropsy Submission Form, thereby incorporated by reference, and which is available to all official veterinarian offices and all stable gates. The trainer or their designee is responsible to supply all information to complete this form. C9, the recommendation would be for it to read, the owner or the owner's authorized agent or trainer will be responsible for all costs of a post-mortem examination, i.e. testing fees, transportation of the horse, and disposal of the horse. And that concludes the proposed recommended changes to that rule. Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands for comments on 15.2.6.12?
Yes, Ms. Alexander?
Ms. Alexander, again, identify yourself and please proceed.
Again, Vanessa Alexander. During the 2023 All-American Futurity Trials, there was a filly by the name of Sandstone Mountain. Okay, she was trained by Toby Keaton, and I believe it was reported in Track Magazine that after a night of suffering, she was finally put down. Now, there was a necropsy of sorts done, and Lisa Johnson deliberately destroyed those samples by leaving them in her truck for days to rot. It's a little strange. And of course, what's stranger is when I got some of the records from Mr. Bustamante, they were illegally redacted to hide these facts. And again, here we are in 2024, and Toby Keaton, who Lisa Johnson obviously helped in 23 and again in 24 when she commandeered the tractors, and you guys did nothing about it. Now you guys are in the middle of another self-inflicted scandal. It's great that you guys want to talk about doing necropsies. It is absolutely worthless when the only person getting the lab results is your incompetent investigator who's also playing on the side. And I don't get you guys. I don't get you at all.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Any other raised hands?
No other raised hands.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Chavez. We are proceeding to Exhibit 11, Rule 16-47-1-8, NMAC. And this is regarding general provisions. And under subsection L, grounds for disciplinary measures for a licensee and refusal, denial, or suspension of revocation of license. The first proposed amendment is under subsection E, and the recommended change is it would read, has been found in, the commission may refuse to issue a license to an applicant or may suspend or revoke a license issued or order disciplinary measures if the applicant has been found in violation of rules governing racing in New Mexico and of other racing commissions or of any recognized regulatory organization. Subsection G of L would read, has been or is currently excluded from association grounds by any racing commission, racetrack management, or a recognized regulatory organization. Subsection H would read, has had privileges or a license denied, suspended, or revoked by any racing commission or a recognized regulatory organization. Subsection P of subsection L would read, in the case of a notice from the State of New Mexico Human Services Department that a licensee is in noncompliance with the Parental Responsibility Act, the licensee shall be notified by the Board of Stewards. Thereafter, the licensee shall have 30 days to provide documentation of compliance to the Board of Stewards, and failure to do so will result in the suspension or revocation of all licenses issued by the New Mexico Racing Commission to said licensee. And that completes the proposed changes. Ms. Chavez, any raised hands regarding this exhibit and Rule 16-47-1-8?
Yes, Ms. Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, identify yourself, please, and proceed with your
Vanessa
comment.
Alexander, grounds for disciplinary measures. You guys don't even hold your own staff and officials to your own licensing standards as it is. Again, go take a look at Lisa Johnson's licensing applications. You wouldn't approve those if that was for a horseman. You would fine them. Okay. Yet the woman is allowed to lie about being in the military, lie about being disabled. He can't remember what her own date of birth is. I mean, come on, give me a break. And then let's talk about the jurisdictions. Your own stewards last year, when they were illegally, targeting Samuel Valdivia, your stewards don't even know what a jurisdiction is. They illegally denied this guy a license because your stewards thought a racetrack was a jurisdiction. Why are you messing with NMAC if you can't even follow it as it is? You're only making it more complicated, and you guys are just gonna walk into more holes. I mean, this is just self-inflicted. I do not understand you people. You won't hold your own license, your own staff to a freaking standard, and yet you want to apply it to the horsemen. Give me a break.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Ms. Chavez, any other additional comments?
See no hands.
All right, thank you. We are proceeding to Exhibit 11, Rule 16-47-1-10, dealing with trainers. And under subsection A, dealing with eligibility, the first recommended change to subsection 23, and actually, I apologize. That is subsection C, other responsibility. And the first proposed change is to subsection 23, which would read, personally attending to their horses in the paddock and supervising the saddling, taking out the rest of the language, which originally read thereof unless excused by the stewards. If the trainer is excused, trainer must secure another trainer or assistant trainer who is licensed by the commission to assume those duties. Under C, subsection 24, the proposed would read, any licensed trainer that is listed on the race days officials program and does not receive approval from the stewards to have an assistant trainer or substitute trainer to saddle the absent trainer's horses in the paddock will be fined $1,500 for the first offense and $3,000 for the second and each subsequent offenses. Subsection 25 of subsection C, the proposed reading is as follows. Any licensed trainer that continues to be non-compliant by not receiving steward's prior approval to have an assistant or substitute trainer to act in the place of the listed trainer on the official program, the stewards may summarily suspend the non-compliant trainer and their horses may be placed on the steward's list pending a disciplinary hearing. Under that rule, under subsection E, dealing with substitute trainers, the proposed amendment is regarding E1 to read, if any licensed trainer is prevented from performing their duties or is absent from the track where they are participating, the absent trainer shall immediately notify the stewards. The absent trainer, substitute trainer, or assistant trainer, if approved, shall thoroughly fill out the substitute trainer form provided by the stewards. Under E2, the proposed amendment would read, if the stewards do not excuse the absent trainer from their duties for the day, their horses may be scratched at the steward's discretion. And under E5, the proposed amendment would read, any unauthorized person found to be acting as a substitute trainer in the paddock without thoroughly filling out the substitute trainer form and being approved by the stewards will be sanctioned a fine of no less than $1,000. Ms. Chavez, do we have any raised hands for comments on that exhibit?
It's Alexander.
Ms. Alexander, identify yourself and please provide your comment.
Vanessa Alexander. A couple questions. When are you guys going to address the illegally obtained licenses? I first started reporting to you in 2021.
Sufficient.
I would ask why Mr. Trejo terminated Stewart about it and then hid the reason why from State Personnel Office. This Stewart is actually not allowed to work for the NMRC again. It was that serious. But, we're just gonna call it a retirement, right, Trejo? He retired from racing. And last but not least, I just want to thank you guys for not broadcasting a porn show this time. Good on you.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Director Trejo.
Yes, Izzy Trejo, Executive Director of the New Mexico Racing Commission. In regards to subsection 5, as far as the fine goes, no less than $1,000. We've had some feedback and, I could throw it out there. It's ultimately up to the commissioners, but to strike $1,000, maybe make it $500.
I would support that.
Okay, and there again, in the event that the commission would like to entertain such a change, that would be basically at the next section of this meeting, and it would be basically a motion to perhaps adopt the proposed change subject to those amendments. Okay, so Any other additional comments, Ms. Chavez, regarding that rule?
None.
Okay, all right. Honorable Commissioners, any of you have questions for any of the individuals who submitted comments here today?
I do not.
Okay, all right. Honorable Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding the presentation here today or any of the proposed amendments?
I do not.
Okay, all right, okay. And just to clarify, for the record, exhibits 1 through 14 have been introduced and will be admitted into the record. And we are now moving to the close of this rules hearing portion. Ms. Chavez, do you have a list of all the individuals who submitted written comments for today's rule hearing?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and am I correct in saying that that is Exhibit 13?
Sir.
Okay, Exhibit 13 is admitted into the record. Ms. Chavez, do you have a list of the attendance sheet for today's rules hearing? And would that be Exhibit 14? Exhibit 14 is hereby admitted into the record. At this time, the public comments submitted and heard during today's rule hearing will be considered and discussed by the commission during the open public meeting, which will follow immediately after this rules hearing. And thereafter, the commission will formally vote on the proposed rules during that public meeting. Any adopted rule will include a concise explanatory statement that can be provided to any individual who participated in today's hearing. If you want the concise explanatory statement of any adopted rules, please send your email address to Ms. Chavez at denise.chavez@rc.nm.gov. The entire rulemaking record will also be found on the Racing Commission's website. Let the record show that this public rules hearing was adjourned at 11:35 a.m. I thank the commissioners and everyone present here today for their time and their comments. And that concludes the rule hearing portion. And honorable commissioners, if you'd like, we can take a short break. Or else we can immediately go into the deliberation and voting on the proposed rules. So whatever the honorable commissioners would like to do.
We're gonna vote on the rules one by one.
Correct, sir. And if you want, I can voice the motion for you.
I'm fine. Mr. Petrie, you fine?
I'm good. Yes, sir.
Let's go on.
Okay, all right. The rules hearing portion has been officially ended. And now I will open up the rules for discussion by the commissioners. Honorable commissioners, is there any discussion regarding the proposed rule changes to Rule 15.2.1.7 NMAC? And that would be the definition rule.
I have none.
I have none.
Nope.
Director Trejo, remind us, please, were there any suggested amendments that were proposed by commission or you regarding that rule?
There were not.
Okay, all right. Honorable commissioners, do I understand that with respect to Exhibit A, Rule 15.2.1.7 definitions, the commission would like to entertain a motion to adopt the proposed changes as submitted and discussed earlier?
Yes, sir.
This is Buffington. I will make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please. Denise?
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to the proposed changes to Rule 15.2.1.7, the commission, the quorum of the commission voted unanimously to adopt them. Now we are turning to Rule 15.2.1.9, due process and disciplinary action. Honorable commissioners or Director Trejo, are there any suggested modification or amendments to the proposed rule changes as discussed earlier?
No, sir.
Okay. Honorable Commissioners, do I understand that the commission would like to entertain a motion to adopt the proposed rule changes to Rule 15.2.1.9, due process and disciplinary actions as discussed here earlier today?
Ms. Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to Exhibit B, the proposed rule changes to 15.2.1.9 due process and disciplinary action, that the quorum of the commission voted unanimously to adopt those recommended changes as submitted and discussed here earlier. Now we are turning to Exhibit 3, the proposed changes to Rule 15.2.2.8 associations. Honorable Commissioners or Director Trejo, are there any recommended changes to the proposed changes as discussed earlier?
Yes, Mr. Bustamante, in reference to 15.2.2.8 E number 7, the last line of that proposal, if we could get a motion to change after may not conduct, scratch a race and change that to may not conduct training until a properly equipped and staffed ambulance is in place or a physician is on duty.
Okay, all right. And Honorable Commissioners, if I understand correctly, the commission would like to entertain a motion to adopt the proposed changes to Rule 15.2.8 as submitted, with the one change that Director Trejo just specified regarding E7 to include, if you could again,
Training and strike a race.
okay, to include training and strike the words a race. So does the commission, do we have such a motion?
Ms. Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Bob? You
Second,
it?
Petrie.
Roll call,
Second,
please.
Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to Rule 15.2.2.8, the commission, quorum of the commission has voted unanimously to adopt the proposed rule changes along with the proposed change to subsection E7. Thank you. We are now proceeding to the next exhibit, and that is regarding Rule 15.2.3.8, dealing with flat racing officials and general provisions. Honorable Commissioners or Director Trejo, are there any proposed changes to the suggested recommendations as discussed earlier?
No, sir.
Okay. Honorable Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions on this?
No.
Okay. Do I understand correctly that the commission would like to entertain a motion with respect to Rule 15.2.3.8, flat racing officials and general provisions, to adopt the recommended changes as submitted and discussed earlier?
Ms. Buffington, I will make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to the proposed changes in Rule 15.2.3.8, flat racing officials, general provisions, a quorum of the commission, you voted unanimously to adopt the recommended changes without any additions or changes. And now we're proceeding to the next exhibit, and that is Rule 15.2.5.12, dealing with horses ineligible. Honorable Commissioners, Director Trejo, are there any suggested changes that need to be made in a motion regarding this proposed rule change?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Do I understand from the commission or the honorable commission members that you would like to entertain a motion with respect to Rule 15.2.5.12, horses ineligible, to adopt the proposed rule changes as discussed earlier?
Ms. Buffington, I will make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Denise, roll call, please.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to the proposed rule changes under 15.2.512, quorum of the commission voted unanimously to adopt those recommendations without any modification or changes. We are proceeding now to Rule 15.2.5.13, dealing with running of the race. Honorable Commissioners, Director Trejo, based on our early discussions, are there any changes or modifications to the proposed amendments as we discussed here earlier?
No, sir.
Okay. Honorable Commissioners, any proposed changes?
No.
Do I understand correctly that with respect to Rule 15.2.513, running of the race, that the commission would like to entertain a motion to adopt the recommended changes as discussed earlier today without any additions or deletions?
Buffington, I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to the proposed changes in Rule 15.2.5.13, running of the race, a quorum of the commission voted unanimously to adopt those recommended changes without any additions or deletions. We are now turning to Rule 15.2.6.9, medication and prohibited substances. Honorable Commissioners, Director Trejo, based on our earlier discussions, are there any recommended or proposed amendments different than the suggested changes as discussed earlier?
Yes, Mr. Bustamante, section 15.2.6.9. A 13D, there's been a suggestion to insert assistant trainer, but I'm going to look for a little guidance on where that should go. So the rule would, I'm not sure if it's, the proposal is suggesting that the spouse or domestic partner or an assistant trainer of a licensee that has had their license suspended. Just looking for guidance. The tracks had made a comment.
Can I read the track?
Yes.
Maybe that'll help. The comments from the track was to add assistant trainer to the group of people that may also be summarily suspended to prevent a trainer from circumventing the intent of the rules. Never mind, that wasn't helpful.
It was our feeling initially that when you read the rule, the spouse or domestic partner of any licensee that has had their license suspended. So that would be the spouse or domestic partner of a.
Just add after that or assistant trainer.
Or assistant trainer of any licensee, because not any licensee has an assistant trainer. I just need to know where we're going. Are we trying to get the assistant trainer suspended as well? Is that what the point is? I don't know if
Right. Exactly.
Fred Heinrich is on there.
That is what we're.
I don't see him unless he's in Dustin Dix's office.
Mr. Baugh, Mr. Dix, any racetracks, Chris Mackel.
Balls, he had to get off, he had to, his deals on the floor and,
I've asked Mr. Dix to unmute himself. Doesn't appear like anybody, maybe Mr. McElwain?
Yeah. Let's try Mr. McElwain. And this rule is really to keep family members to just transfer the horses over and they benefit from.
Well, the idea was they transfer them all to an assistant trainer, which is not.
Be on here in a second.
Okay, so, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I had been distracted with a separate call. Would ask if the commission needs something from my side, or is there?
Yes, Chris, Izzy Trejo here, in reference to 15.2.6.9 A 13D, where we've proposed a rule change, the spouse or domestic partner of any licensee that has had their license suspended, revoked, or summarily suspended by the commission or any other recognized regulatory organization may be suspended, as well as to assure, and so on and so on. There's been a suggestion to insert assistant trainer, and just looking for guidance on where that public comment feels that we should insert the assistant trainer into this rule. What portion of it? I don't know if you've had discussions with the tracks on this.
I know it was going to be raised. I mean, we would support that. I don't have the exact language in front. I don't know if you're asking where in it should be inserted, or just the concept of it.
Yeah, we're trying to drill down as to what effect we want with that inserted. Are we looking to suspend the assistant trainer as well when their trainer gets in trouble, or what? That we're just looking for some guidance.
I think the circumstance would make a difference.
I'm just not sure if this is the place to do what I'm guessing what we want to do.
And just for the record, is that this discussion is just to clarify whether the commission feels an amendment is necessary to this. Honorable Commissioners, let me suggest some placement language, and maybe that'll help move the discussion forward. Perhaps it could read D, the spouse or domestic partner of any licensee, including an assistant trainer that has had their license suspended, revoked, or summarily suspended by the commission or any other recognized regulatory organization, may be suspended as well to ensure that the suspended licensee does not benefit from horse racing in any way during their suspension. If a license of a jockey has been suspended for a routine riding offense and given a suspension of less than 15 days, the spouse or domestic partner may continue to participate in racing at the discretion of the stewards. So my suggested language would put in after the spouse or domestic partner of any licensee, comma, including assistant trainers that has had their license.
At the commission's discretion.
Well, the comment says may down below. It's not a shall, it's a may, so it would be.
What is the intent of this? That way we could help out. I'm trying to get Fred.
Isn't an assistant trainer a licensee? So
That was my point I made earlier. It covers it. That's why I'm wondering what I'm missing here. Do you know, Ms. McKinney?
Well, when they were, I wasn't actually on the discussions, but I was seeing the emails go back and forth. And I have the same problem with this. It lists for any licensee who's going to benefit of being an assistant trainer. I don't.
So the rolling it back around to that broader discussion, we would indicate that that's not necessary to put that in, and we perhaps could stick with the original language.
Well, an assistant trainer in our world wouldn't be any licensee.
Okay, so it's covered under the original. I would be okay with sticking with the original language then. Under that clarification, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, we can get Dustin on the phone.
Yeah, okay.
I just need to understand.
Huh?
Mr. Baugh just joined.
And again, this discussion is just to.
But he's the one that suggested it, so.
Whether an amendment is.
Get him, Rick, are you there? Let him talk. Is he there?
I can hear you, Commissioner. I just stepped in, so I'm a little behind. I've been watching our Senate bill.
So on the suggestion that you all have made, he says it's covered. Read it to him, is he?
The spouse or domestic partner of any licensee that has had their license suspended, revoked, or summarily suspended by the commission or any other recognized regulatory organization may be suspended. I'll just read it in part. So, Rick, what we were wondering is where we should add, or what's the track's thought, because you guys had submitted a public comment, where we should add assistant trainer in there.
I would say spouse, comma, domestic partner, comma, and assistant trainer.
Okay. We believe that any licensee covers assistant trainer.
Well, yes and no. A lawyer will argue it doesn't.
So he's saying the spouse, comma, domestic partner, comma, or licensed trainer. And?
I would say and.
I think the commission should be at their discretion, because there's a lot of incidents that.
It kind of distorts the rule then, because an assistant trainer of any
Why not just
licensee,
make a separate
that makes
rule
it,
for
because a
the
jockey
assistant
doesn't have an assistant
trainer?
trainer.
God,
Well, guys, I'm not legal.
you're
by any
talking
means.
about family
And
and consanguinity
honorable commissioners,
and
I agree
relations.
with Director Trejo that the use of the term of any licensee, that of course, the reasonable interpretation of that is that would include an assistant trainer. Because of course, the only way you become an assistant trainer is by basically having a license issued by the commission. So
Here's an idea, Mr. Chairman, commissioners. The spouse or spouse, comma, domestic partner, or comma, assistant trainer of a trainer that has had their license suspended, revoked. That way, the assistant trainer will move in unison as far as suspension goes with the trainer that gets in trouble. That could be a different rule though, somewhere. I don't know if this would be could we add a new portion to this or just work on the verbiage on a little more?
I think we can work on the verbiage.
Spouse, do you understand where I'm coming from, Denise? That we got to tie the assistant trainer to the trainer. So if a trainer gets suspended, so it could be the spouse, comma, domestic partner, comma, or maybe we start with the assistant trainer
God,
of a trainer.
you guys,
Can we add an E to
duh.
this?
There you
Denise?
go. You figured it out.
Or is that stretching it?
I think that might be stretching.
yeah, I would suggest to see if we can fit verbiage in the D, given that we've already advised that the commission is considering changes to that.
Well, we have an attachment to the certain
God,
license of a jockey. So maybe after the jockey one, we add in there an assistant trainer of a trainer that has been suspended, that has had their licenses suspended, revoked, and we just add that on.
oh my God.
And that'll get us to.
Let's do that.
So we'll need to get some, the changes,
You
Denise.
guys don't even know
We
that
could
you
give it
have
to
a
Mr.
rule
Bustamante
that
to read into the
says
record and how we're going to adopt this.
assistant
Okay. So I
trainers
guess,
are
do you
held
want
to
me
the
to do it, Denise?
same standards and penalty as the trainer.
So the spouse or domestic partner, that all going to remain the same, and then we can put in
A redundant
any help
rule about
would be
assistant trainers.
appreciated as well. The assistant trainer of a trainer that has had their license suspended, revoked, or summarily suspended by the commission or any other recognized regulatory organization may be suspended as well to assure that the suspended assistant trainer does not benefit from horse racing in any way during their suspension.
That's perfect, right there.
I like it. Because we're facing that problem right now, guys. I
We already have a
reviewed the
rule.
stall applications yesterday and it's happening now.
No, you think?
And Director Trejo, do I understand correctly that that would be a separate sentence that would follow the first sentence of that proposed
No,
rule?
we'd put it right after the end of the proposal, after the word stewards, just start off with that.
Okay, all right, okay. So what I'll do is, any other comments or questions, honorable commissioners, regarding this proposed amendment to this portion of the rule?
Oh, just the way he read it the last time.
Okay. Director Trejo, what I'll do is I'll form the motion and then I'll turn to you to add the exact sentence, given that you so eloquently stated it. So
Just add it or read the whole rule in its entirety, just the addition or the?
just the addition and where it would be located. So
Okay.
again, all of this discussion was basically a discussion relevant to whether the commission felt it necessary to amend this proposed rule prior to their voting. And if I understand correctly, based on that discussion, I understand that the commission would like to entertain the following motion with respect to Rule 15.2.6.9 to adopt the recommended changes with the addition of the following with respect to A subsection D. And Director Trejo, my understanding is at the end of that term, the motion is to include the following sentence.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you, Mr. Bustamante. The addition would read, an assistant trainer of a trainer that has had their license suspended, revoked, or summarily suspended by the commission or any other recognized regulatory organization may be suspended as well to assure that the suspended licensee does not benefit from horse racing in any way during their suspension. I think that will work.
Okay, all right.
That will work.
And
the key word is may. Doesn't mean you have to.
Okay.
But in a lot of circumstances, it's important.
Okay. So we have that following motion to adopt the changes to 15.2.6.9 with that one amendment to subsection D. And do we have such a motion?
This is Buffington. I will make such a motion.
Second, Petrie.
Denise, roll call, please.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to the proposed amendments to Rule 15.2.6.9, the quorum of the commission voted unanimously to adopt all of the proposed changes, subject to the addition of one additional sentence to subsection D to recognize that the assistant trainer basically is also included in the provision of that rule. And now we are moving to Exhibit 10 regarding Rule 15.2.6.12 regarding physical inspections of horses. Honorable Commissioners, Director Trejo, based on our earlier discussions, is there any suggestion of a need for amendments to those initial changes?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Do I understand that the commission would like to entertain a motion with respect to Rule 15.2.6.12 to adopt the proposed changes as discussed earlier?
This is Buffington. I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington,
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that with respect to Rule 15.2.6.12, that the commission, a quorum of the commission voted unanimously in open session to adopt those proposed changes without any additions or deletions. And honorable commissioners, we turn now to Exhibit 11, Rule 16-47-1-8, dealing with general provisions. And honorable commissioners, Director Trejo, based on our earlier discussions, is there any discussion or a need of an adoption or a change to any of those initial recommendations as discussed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Bustamante, I would suggest seeking a motion for subsection 16.47.1.10 E as in Edward number 5 to change the fine value from $1,000 to $500. So it would read, any unauthorized person found to be acting as a substitute trainer in the paddock without thoroughly filling out the substitute trainer form and being.
not there yet.
Yeah, you are one rule ahead of us, I think, so.
I apologize. You just want this thing to get done.
Lunch is on Director Trejo for that error. Director Trejo, we are dealing with Exhibit 11, 16-47-1-8, dealing with general provisions. And again, honorable commissioners, or Director Trejo, any suggested changes to that rule? No, sir. All right. Honorable Commissioners, am I correct in understanding that with respect to Rule 16-47-1-8, general provisions, the commission would like to entertain a motion to adopt the recommended changes as discussed earlier without any deletions or additions?
This is Buffington. I'll make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that in open session, a quorum of the commission voted unanimously to adopt the recommended changes to Rule 16-47-1-8 without any deletions or additions, except for the ones discussed earlier. Honorable Commissioners, we move now to Exhibit 12, dealing with Rule 16-47-1-10 trainers and substitute trainers and assistant trainers. Honorable Commissioners, Director Trejo, any suggested changes with respect to the ones that we discussed earlier regarding proposed changes to this rule?
This is the time, right? Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I false broke on that last one. Just recommended 16.47.1.10 E as in Edward number 5, seeking a motion to change the $1,000 fine to no less than $500.
Okay.
Want me to read how it'll?
If you could, please, Director Trejo.
Okay, so the proposal would read, any unauthorized person found to be acting as a substitute trainer in the paddock without thoroughly filling out the substitute trainer form and being approved by the stewards will be sanctioned with a fine no less than $500.
Okay. Anything further, Honorable Commissioners or Director Trejo? Do I understand correctly, Honorable Commissioners, that with respect to Rule 16-47-1-10 trainers, that the commission would like to entertain a motion to adopt the proposed changes to that rule as discussed earlier with one addition or change, and that would be with respect to section E5 dealing with substitute trainers. That change would drop the fine from $1,000, no less than $1,000 to no less than $500. Honorable Commissioners, do we have such a motion?
This is Buffington. I would make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Petrie,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that in open session, a quorum of the commission did vote to basically adopt the proposed changes to Rule 16-47-1-10 trainers, subject to the one change on E5 to drop the fine from $1,000 to $500. Honorable Commissioners, that basically concludes the voting portion of the rules proceeding. I would like to thank all the commission members here today, as well as everyone present in person and on Zoom for their participation and attendance.
Even me?
Just to let everybody know, any rules adopted by the commission will be filed at the State Records and Archives in accordance with the State Rules Act and the New Mexico Register publication deadlines. The adopted rules become effective on the date of the publication of the new rules in the New Mexico Register. There being nothing further, let the record show that this rules meeting was adjourned at basically 12 noon today. And Mr. Chairman, assuming no other agenda items, if you want to present a motion to.
No, okay.
Yes, sir.
There being no other business to come before this commission, I will hear a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Buffington, make that motion.
Second, Petrie.
Roll call, please, Denise.
Billy Smith,
Yes.
John Buffington.
Yes.
Bob Petrie,
Yes.
Adjourn. Thank you, Bob. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Recording has stopped.
Jeez.